Hey, this is Sayam Bhutani, and you're listening to Chai Time Data Science, a podcast for data science enthusiasts where I interview practitioners, researchers, and Kagglers about their journey, experience, and talk all things about data science.
Hello and welcome to Quarantine Content with Kaggle Heroes, CTDS.show. In this episode, I interview Kaggle Grandmaster, Kaggle Kernels Grandmaster Parul Pandey for the second time on the show. Parul has recently become a Kernels Grandmaster, and in this second episode, in my second interview with her, we talk all about Kaggle. We specifically talk about her journey on Kaggle. If you're curious about her journey into data science, please check out the previous interview. This one dives into her journey on Kaggle, her approach to writing materials on Kaggle, sharing them, and we try to address many critical issues that come up with gamification, come up with the fact that categories like kernels and two more categories are gamified and are based on upvotes on Kaggle. So without further ado, here's the conversation. Please enjoy the show. Hi everyone, I'm honored to be joined by Parul Pandey for the second time on the show. Parul, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast again.
It's been a pleasure and thanks for hosting me again, Sayam.
Thanks for saying yes to my stupid request. This time you're joining as a Kaggle Grandmaster, although I would argue you're already a Grandmaster, just not on Kaggle. We'll be talking a lot about your Kaggle journey this time, hopefully. I want to start by talking about why did you pick up Kaggle? I believe during our last time you weren't active on Kaggle.
So I was marginally active, if you could say that. So essentially, so if you could say, I always wanted to be, I was actually on Kaggle. I've been, I made my profile on Kaggle 5 years back, but
Okay.
I only used it for downloading datasets. And that too, I used to download it on my local system. I never used the notebooks feature of Kaggle. I know, but I didn't feel so comfortable, you could say, because I used to see, the like big hot shots.
Golden names.
And it's like it was something which was like unachievable. Oh my god, Kaggle is not for me. But then when I came to H2O, obviously you get surrounded by grandmasters and you start observing like how do they participate, how do they use Kaggle. And then slowly I started submitting one or two kernels, but of course they did not gain any traction. But then the real tipping point, you could say, came when I participated in the survey, Kaggle survey, and I was a newbie that time. But when I saw that, how people were appreciating my work, and I had people from all like from grandmasters to even novices, and even some people of the Kaggle team appreciated my work. I think that was a big motivation, which sort of hinted that Kaggle is for everybody, and I think rest is history.
That was the competition you had won, or you were the first winner that Kaggle had announced, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I wasn't essentially the winner. So Kaggle had this thing like they were giving away prizes, like in the first week itself. So the best notebook in the week, and then they had those final prizes. So I was my notebook won the prize in that first week. So the best.
Okay. Okay. You mentioned intimidation while starting out. Can you elaborate on that? Because I think many people don't start out on Kaggle just because they're too scared to jump on it.
Yeah, I think it's too overwhelming. Also, the fact that we see social media posts on Kaggle about like how people are winning gold medals and silver medals. and such difficult competitions, and then they post out the results which you don't understand. But I haven't seen anybody posting and saying, I this was my first notebook and I was really happy that I participated. So that sort of creates this sort of barrier. So we need more people to come out, who are active Kaggle users, and they needn't be grandmasters. They need to share their experience and tell people what are the advantages, and especially for newbies and learners. See, of course, if you are on a level in the data science world, you can participate in competitions, you can even win them. But for people who are absolutely new, we need to show them that there's much more to Kaggle than only competitions. There are the courses there. You could upload data sets, you could work on data sets, you could collaborate with people, you could even use their platform and their notebooks. So, you don't have to create another environment. If you're very new, you can use that environment. It has pre-installed libraries, it has the support of GPUs and TPUs. So that is something that we need to highlight more. And that is what I'm trying to do now.
Okay.
So that Kaggle is, like I always say, there's more to competitions, okay? Kaggle is more than that.
Certainly. Many people think this is what you need to get started on competition. I can really promise them that once you get a local box, it's a lot of system admin work. It's a waste of time compared to if you just jump onto the notebooks and start from there.
What I also remember from Jeremy's, I think his first lecture on Fast AI, where he always tells, like, don't just, if you're very new to this whole world, don't just spend a lot of time on setting up your system. Get started with the actual work. And I think a lot of things are available today to help get started. Even though there's nothing bad, what you have is a really powerful beast. But you don't need to think about all these things, if you need to start working on some problem or a project.
Definitely, there's no access barriers. It's all just mental barriers.
Because I think most of the times, what we do is we tend to talk to people who don't have experience in that area.
Yes.
And what they know is from social media sort of things, from Twitter and LinkedIn. And sometimes people think that if they talk about a lot of GPUs and TPUs and stuff like that instead of the real problem, so they'll fit in. So we need to get connected to people who actually have experience. The real people, I mean, not the influencers type.
Yeah.
So this is very important. Don't just go about what people are sharing on social media. Don't just go if people are saying, we've done this course, we've done this, we got this job. Don't just blindly follow everybody. There are a lot of good people who are not active on social media, but they're active on platforms like Kaggle. And hence, I think it makes more sense to be active on Kaggle forum if you're really, really serious about making a career in data science.
So how do you suggest that someone who's just starting out engage with such people and seek mentorship? Because again, there's some intimidation, and people like yourself would get a lot of messages. A lot of them would be spam. So how do we approach someone like you?
So I think the first thing that you have to do is you have to stick to some rules. And this is not only like particular to Kaggle, but in general also, I think. When you're approaching people, you have to first respect that, their time. So first try and go and search yourself and make use of. So for instance, if you are stuck at a code or some programming issues, go and try to find solutions yourself. Don't just get stuck and take a screenshot and just post it. And
Screenshot with your phone, not on your PC.
so that screenshot to the phone is something which really bugs me off, because at least you can take a screenshot from the system itself. So try to make, because that effort has to come from you. If you cannot search for a simple problem, then I think the field of data science is like, it's too complicated. And so you have to respect you, and you have to ask questions in a very in a way that it's not that the people who are there, it's their duty to answer your questions. You have to first show them that you're really interested, you've done some amount of work, and you're really passionate about this, and then nobody will say no. I have seen seen some of the conversations on Kaggle. There are a lot of very active people, and they just, they'll explain them to the last bit. But you have to show how much effort you're putting. It's not you started learning Python, you hit that first hurdle, first problem, and you say, you know what, look, this is the screenshot. I don't know how to sort the values. That's wrong. And that also reflects, so if you are going to work for some team, and if you talk about generally if you're working not in a data science environment, such things I think are not something that they go down well with the others. So this is very important.
Certainly. There's two things. One, people need to realize that you need to sit down and really spend a few hours feeling stupid, and eventually it'll get easier. And the other one is you need to be sincere while asking questions. I think Kaggle just updated their policies regarding this also. So
Yes. And I think because even Kaggle has noticed this, and they're also trying to tell people, like, be a little mature. Of course, if you are signed on Kaggle, we expect you to be mature and you're really there to ask questions. And I think, most of the questions, somebody in this world has had the same error, they had the same
definitely.
problem, and there's so many forums, they post it out there, and sometimes just a mere Google search can actually solve that problem. And that's the most interesting part also, when you just sort of debug your code, and that's also learning. And that should be seen as learning rather than, wastage of time. So I had this one message on LinkedIn where the person said that, he's wasted a lot of time searching for the answer he couldn't find. And can you tell me what? And so how can you waste your time in trying to find? And if you're really not finding it, just at least paste your error message for the other to see. You expect the person. So he was expecting me to download that data set, upload it, and then process. So hence for such things, people don't get answers back. And then I see a lot of people complaining that, people do not answer back. They have a lot of followers, but they don't want to help. And then there'll be some other person who'll say, come, I've made this guide, I've made this, just comment in the link is in the first comment, and you
Let
also
me scrape your emails. Please leave your email in the comments so that I can build a
people are going
subscriber.
to write over there. But if somebody gives them an advice that, try it first, or this is the link, go to this link, read the documentation, people are going to say, people are not really helpful here.
I think this again goes back to, and this is my favorite advice from the series. It's by Radek, which says that when you're starting out, you have to feel stupid. There's no easy way around it. You have to sit down, spend a lot of hours just doing stupid stuff, feeling stupid, and eventually it gets easier. There's no way around that.
And there's always, you could learn from anybody. You could learn from even people who are in school. You don't have to feel that, what if I'll ask this question, I'll sound stupid in the forum. No, it's not. You will never be. And I've seen there are some people who write in Kaggle that I'm really sorry, I'm a newbie and I'm asking this, and then people say it's okay. This is a very genuine question and we are glad you asked it. So it's not that people are outrightly going to say, no, you have to ask your question, have to have some deep learning involved, and only then we'll answer. It's not that. But your questions always reflect the amount of effort you are putting in. And people with a lot of experience can judge that with the way you frame your question.
Yeah.
And I, in fact, start my Kaggle when I open it. I go to the forums, and if people have some questions, I always make it a point that, in the initial 10 or 15 minutes, I answer. If people really having a hard time, they can't figure out something, I really help them. I even used to put screenshots, to just point to them. So here your files are here, your output files go there, and that's fun. And there are people, I think, who like me, like you. I think they're more than happy to help others.
Yes. I try to help when I can. I don't do a good job like you, but I want to talk about your journey. I believe the last time when you transitioned into data science, you had taken your maternity leave, and which led you to transitioning into this. This
Yeah.
time, I hope this isn't the case when someone's watching this interview, but India was under lockdown worldwide. There was lockdown, and you became a grandmaster. What's your secret to planning under pressure or such serious times?
So more of it, I think, has to do with the fact that I'm a mother and I also have a life other than data science life. Uh, because during lockdown, what happened was schools were closed, offices were closed. So everybody was at home, and and you could not go out. There was no life. And so I think what you could do was at home to just focus on maybe what you were doing. And now the whole grandmaster thing was, yeah, it did get accelerated during that time because of course you had nothing else to do.
But it was always on your radar.
It wasn't initially. I think initially my first gold medal came last year in October, for the
Competition.
yeah, and that was my first medal. And then the first thing was even mastered here. It was very far away because that also requires 10 medals. But slowly, I think when people started liking it, and then I became a master. But then once you become a master, and then the grandmaster even looks even further
You
because
see that bar on Kaggle that shows you how many medals away you are from the
that
title.
was just impossible. So because Kaggle, like notebooks are something that is not in you don't have the power on them because uh, you can write the best of the notebooks, but if people don't like it, you cannot do anything.
Yep.
And sometimes people like such notebooks which you sometimes feel, oh my God, this has got a gold medal, never expected. So it's more about people and how well they'll receive it. And sometimes you feel you've done such a lot. It happened with me. I spent such a lot of time on some notebooks which did not strike any chord with anybody. They're still lying there at I think 5 or 6 words only. So when I actually got about 8 gold medals, that time I just struck like I think it is possible, maybe. And I thought it'll again take 3, 4, or I was expecting to be end of the year 2020.
Okay.
And then something happened. It just got accelerated in the month of May. Uh, and I think happens also because you start getting followers also. That also because when I started, I didn't have, I think I just had 5 followers. And so it happens, people start knowing you, they know that if this person is posting some notebook, this will be useful. And then I started, so I also changed my strategy sort of because instead of just doing on general data analysis, I used to target the competitions. When competitions used to come, I used to do EDA just to help others also, have a quick look at what is the data set like. And that I think kind of helped me in getting near that grandmaster score of 15 gold medals.
So do you think so people that call enthusiasts themselves enthusiasts like me, idiot like me who has throughout the day to waste time on data science, uh, and compared to someone like you who has limited time to dedicate, do you think that makes you work more efficiently? Because I end up just wasting all of my time. And do you think batching your time effectively was the trick?
I think that's human nature. Yes, the less you have of something, you value it more. Because I know uh, it's very uncertain. Like today I've got a time to work on a notebook. I might not get it tomorrow. There could be some other, and then you also have a full-time job to do. But there's one thing that I remember is I think when I became an expert, I had this chat with SRK. I just told him, I became an expert here because I think you people know exactly my journey from the day I became an expert. So what he told me was a very valuable thing. He said that uh, this is sort of a gamification. 1 medal, then 2 medal, and 3 medal, and this doesn't end actually. So once you become a grandmaster of like kernels, then you would want to become grandmaster of competitions, then you would want to become of all the 4. So, but he said that it's very important that you also enjoy and you also learn along the way. So make sure that every next notebook that you write is better than the previous one. Uh, every competition that you participate, the next one, try to use some new libraries or
Mm.
new ways so that you can only learn because this takes a lot of time and it is very taxing.
Yes.
The whole journey. I mean, it's months. Okay, it's not even like 1 month this finishes. It goes on for months, and to keep yourself motivated day after day. And so you also need to see if you're learning something. And now if I see and look at my notebooks, the ones which I made recently and the ones which are old, I see a stark difference between them. The level definitely, and sometimes I see, oh my God, I wrote all that stuff that time. So this, I think, what he said is something that I really, really followed. So initially, if I were using simple libraries like Matplotlib and Seaborn, I made sure I learned about the new libraries that come. How do I incorporate them? Make the visuals better. Make a story out of the whole data set. Don't just put it there like this is number of people, gender this. Try and make a story out of it so that at the end of it, when people read it, they have some takeaway from the whole study. So this is, I think, something that has helped me, and that I would like to my takeaway from this whole Grandmaster journey.
Like Rohan Rao also mentions that it's a conscious sacrifice that you have to make with your time and sit down and actually sacrifice other things instead and do Kaggle.
Because unlike, so if you see, somebody told me, see, even your college, you could, he gave me an analogy of the college. So you have to work throughout the year and then you have exams at the end of the year. But what I told him was, that this will finish in a year or 6 months, like if it's a semester. But Kaggle, it's not dependent, it's not even in your hand. You write a kernel, you put it out there, and then it depends upon the votes that you get.
Yeah.
And so you don't even know that when will this end. So you've got and the hardest part of this journey was to get the 15 gold medal. From 14, it's so near now. Everybody's like waiting for you to congratulate you, and that you don't get that 15th, and so even the last step is so difficult. I think you feel, oh my God, and then that time you're all strained out. You feel all energy is gone, and you're just waiting, and you don't get that. So it's very uncertain, and it's only your conscious effort when you have to put it in your brain. No, I have to do it. I will have to say no to certain things. I will have to say no to going out, no to socializing, no to movies, no to TV, no to social media. But I think it's worth it when I now look back at it.
I think, like you mentioned, it's also about having positive people around you. At S2O.ai, they're 16 grandmasters, but it's not that they are these big figures that wouldn't talk to you. They're actually very positive, very re-encouraging whenever you try to reach out to anyone. Internally, also, I would say anyone who reaches out to them through online, LinkedIn, anywhere, it's the same case.
I think, and that is one of the greatest advantage I think of working in H2O. You get to really, look at the grandmasters, and then you realize that they're even more than helping. They'll always try to. So initially, I had this opportunity to actually interview a few of the grandmasters as part of H2O employee. And during that conversations that I had with them, I really got to know, when a lot of them, everybody told them that they're like self-taught data scientists. They just switched on, they took this course, they took that course, they started their first competition, they failed miserably, but they continued. And this was something that, really, really hit me. Like, everybody has that first competition, everybody fails. It's just about the matter of trying and then just going with it. And that is just the key for success, for Kaggle, for I think anything in your life. I have seen a lot of people, they'll write 2 or 3 good kernels, or they'll take, and then they're like, oh my, it's too much. I think it's not worth it. Who is going to go to 15 gold medals? So it's like, yes, there are people like that, but perseverance, persistence, and passion, I think, are the 3 key elements to survive in Kaggle.
That's very true. Now, I also want to discuss your kernel writing process in our last interview. Audience, please feel free to check it out. But in our last interview, you had shared your blog writing process. What's your kernel writing process like?
So my kernel writing reflects a lot of what I used to write in my blogs. Because I always want that kernels should not just be pure code and just writing, just presenting what is already there. You need to actually tell people what you want to, what is the giveaway from this, what people should take away from it. So if it's maybe a competition, you should try and explain as if, because there are all levels of people here. There might be a very beginner person who doesn't understand what is in the competition. So you could start with explaining what is the idea of the competition, what are the metrics of it, what sort of data set is available, and then sort of create a story around it. Because I think it's impossible to actually hit on every possible aspect of the data. So just take a subset of it and create a story around it. Say, this is this data set, this has this is elements, one of this element is this, and let's just go deep dive into this. So I always present it that way. Take one part of it and just create a story around it or explain it in detail, because you could do that on the entire data set also, but my idea is always this, so that people should have this strong when they come to the end, they have this thing, okay, this is what it was, and this is something that I did not know when I looked at the data, so now I know. So I want this, to be the final people's reaction on when they read it. They should take away something new from it every time. And
Which is why you open with a very nice question and end it on a very nice quote for all of your kernels.
yeah, because I think that I really like reading quotes, and I used to put it in my blogs also. And some of the people, they really like that thing. They said that they like reading the blogs, but they also like the quotations. And I think it's good. They can use it also in their own works.
Certainly. Do you think in hindsight, you were already a grandmaster on blog writing, if I may say so, but for someone who starts writing kernels, can they take that process away and become better content creators, or vice versa? Someone who's already writing blog posts, should they have a better head start? For Kaggle, do you see any parallels?
It definitely helped me because most of my blogs that I used to write was tutorial kinds. So what I used to do was I used to write a bunch of code also there, and then I used to link it to my GitHub repository. And but now I thought, why not link it to Kaggle kernels? Because why it helps is because people can experiment. They don't have to set up a new environment. They can just experiment there. They can fork the kernels and make some changes and see how it changes. In fact, I think I missed out on a lot of it, because I could have started my Kaggle journey even before, but I just didn't realize, that people it's sort of the same thing. It's my blogs are generally tutorials, and I didn't know that they would help people on Kaggle also. But then, thank God, it struck me at the right time. So I have mix of kernels. A few are competition based, of course, which you can only write on Kaggle again, because of course the competitions are released there. And then the other were tutorial based, which also now because I think there's a lot of audience on Kaggle, and you can get your work out to a lot of people, and there are people who can generally benefit from them. So for me, it will definitely be an advantage. But then again, that should not, if a person doesn't write blog, that should not stop him or her from getting active on Kaggle, because you could do vice versa. So start with Kaggle, and then you could just convert your kernels into blog posts.
Certainly. What happens after you put out the kernel? I noticed that you keep updating them. So how do you go about that, and why do you do that even though the first version is finished already?
Initially, what I used to do was I used to write my kernels, and I used to wait before it finishes completely in every aspect. And I used to take a week or 2 weeks, and what used to happen is, by the time my kernel used to go out, especially for competitions, maybe.
Yeah.
Already a lot of kernels, and I used to think, and then your idea goes, there's nothing new about it. And then another important aspect is that the feedback thing. The sooner you put it out, the better feedbacks you get. By which I don't mean just go and put only 2 lines of import pandas in NumPy, but write a preliminary version of it and put it, sort of complete small version, and then keep updating it, because then you also see people, other kernels coming. You could get some ideas. You do get good feedback from people. I definitely got a few. In fact, I made an error and somebody highlighted it. So instead of just putting everything out and then you realize this doesn't make any sense, you should put it out. There may be somebody who's interested in collaborating with you. So there has to be a mix of it, I think. Don't take such a lot of time in putting your things out there that the whole thing is out. But start do some small analysis preliminary, put it out there, and yes, then people, and then keep updating it as and when you get the time.
Which would be your favorite kernel? One that picked up or got picked up or not that you have written?
Oh, that's a very difficult question. Mine will definitely be the kernel which actually helped me, which gave me sort of a
Spark.
yes, that has to be. And that two things for that actually, because one is because it is one of my initial kernels, my first gold medal actually. And second, I did actually work a lot on it, and I actually converted into more of a study. And I think a lot of people have reached out to me and told me that they're using that study to actually measure female participation. Of course, that just highlights Kaggle's women's participation in Kaggle, but it somewhere actually gives you a hint of the entire STEM situation right now. So, and I actually wanted all my kernels to be sort of converted into blog posts, but then I did not get that much time. But I really liked how I made a story around that, uh, and the topic also was very very close to my heart. So till now, I think that is the kernel which is like my favorite.
Why do you think we see less women in the top leaderboards on Kaggle or even in kernels? There are a few, many great that put out many great kernels like yourself. I think Laura is also active. There are very few that are active relatively. Why do you think that is the case?
I think firstly that it is the general the population or the problem that is in the data science space. There are less females, and that gets reflected here also in Kaggle. But I think I am also trying to actually, think about what is the problem, because I see a lot of great repositories on GitHub, and there are females writing great blog posts, but they are not coming to Kaggle. And it is something that I'm also trying to understand, that what is that thing that is like, not letting them publish their work out on Kaggle. Even though I think there has been some increase uh, in the female participation, I really see females are posting their kernels, but competitions is really, really still less. And I think there are just few names which everybody knows.
Yeah.
They are the ones. And see, one of thing that I was discussing with Tanya also was that she said that she participated in one of the competition, and she was in the gold in for the gold, and then when the results came out, she just fell down one position, and she said she had her 1 year old daughter with her, and then she just thought like, is it worth it?
Hmm.
Because she sacrificed such a lot of time for it, and then just one position slip and she went back. So sometimes she said that she thinks that I know the data, I know how to put them, how to create model, how to get a good score, and that's sufficient for me. This race for the top is sometimes very taxing. That is also one of the things, but especially for females, I think, who are in their undergraduation
Yeah.
years, I think they should make use of Kaggle platform as much as possible. I'm trying to push. I'm also trying to know what is it that's stopping them. But I think the research is still going on, because still I'm finding that a lot of females who are active are the ones who either have a family or who have full-time jobs, and not seeing a lot of, and that's the reverse in case of boys. A lot of students from the undergraduation years are very active in Kaggle, if you will
Yeah.
see. But I'm not seeing the girls from there. So this is something that I'm also trying to find out.
how can outsiders, so I'm a bad cackler, but hopefully someone a better cackler is listening to this, how can they help make this better?
I think we have to first show them the value of Kaggle. I think if a person doesn't know what is he or she has to gain from a platform, they will not try a new platform, because people might say uh, we could just use the data sets and we could create our own. And you know what? There are a lot of great female data scientists who are doing some exemplary work in research and all. But it's just that it is for us, I think, for the Kaggleers who are especially doing well and who have actually benefited a lot from it, to sort of give it back to the society by actually telling others about the value of the platform, like how they have benefited from it and how the others. So it's about showing them, uh, like you have to first tell them, like, how this adds value. And I think then only they will actually start come and they'll try it. Because for any person to be able to use a platform, a product, or anything new, he or she should be aware of the value that it will bring to their present work. So I think we should have more of Kaggle days, and we should people should listen from the Kagglers themselves instead of the others, because nowadays I see a lot of ranting against Kaggle going on LinkedIn. People are saying, you know what, real world Kaggle world, real world Kaggle world, and there are long posts about those things which I actually don't understand, because it's always the value is also a particular person. What may be good for me may not be good for you. But then I'm going out and telling everybody it's not good. That doesn't help. So we need again more voices from the Carol community also coming out and telling people. I think as so I think when you once you become grandmasters or you become involved in Kaggle, you become unofficial ambassadors of Kaggle.
Yes.
So that way, I think we also have a job to do, to be more vocal about Kaggle and its benefits.
I think I bother you a lot internally, but you had mentioned how long will I keep running this podcast, and I think this is true to anything. Unless you have invested a couple of thousand hours on any platform, you cannot really comment on it. And anyone who's doing that isn't credible in my honest opinion. Even if they might have competed in one competition, they would have given up, and now they're ranting about how it didn't help them.
And another problem that is happening is, I think people think that going on Kaggle can just instantly also give them jobs.
Yes.
So when they don't get that, they think like, now what they do is they put their Kaggle rank, everything on their resume, and maybe the companies, they say, okay, it's good you're in Kaggle. We don't actually like have anything to do with it, and then they feel, no, it's not worth it because I'm not getting a job. That is also something that people need to understand. In isolation, even a Kaggle rank or a status will not help you. If you haven't done anything, any good projects, you don't have that bent of mind to solve problems and think out of the box, then if you just have Kaggle on your platform and go out there and say, and I don't mean, of course, see, when you're a competition tier, you're doing some great work there. That is actually a testimony of the fact that you can solve problems. But especially if you talk about kernels, and you just show them I'm a kernels grandmasters, companies will say, okay, it's okay, but so what? In isolation, getting a good kernels rank or even being a kernels grandmaster isn't helpful. This is helpful additionally. So when people know that you know your stuff, you've done good work, then a kernel's grandmaster or a kernel's master helps you. But if you just have it, you say I'm 15th rank on Kaggle as a Kaggle kernel master, and this is my resume. I don't think that would help. So this is also, I think, people, they tend to feel, oh God, I did not get a job because of Kaggle.
What other things would you advise for new Kagglers who are undergrads who have dedicated a lot of time on Kaggle, reached expert or master tier? What else should they do?
I think they need to convert their knowledge into something, especially if they're teaming up and collaborating with each other on some competitions. Uh, Post the competition, try and use that thing to create some projects. You have access to data, you know how things work. try making some projects of your own. And I mean, just don't get. You have to actually. Kaggle is a learning platform also. Take those learnings and just use it for something. Maybe you could get together, write some research papers, try doing some research, try looking at some localized problems. So if you are in India, look at the problems around you, how you can create something and help the government. Because I think in India there's a dearth of good. People who could help government out of the way. So create some products for people who are living in remote villages, especially in edutech. So use that. Don't just create projects, like we're creating a computer vision problem. It could detect this is mouse and this is Apple and this is your keyboard. It's good. Use it. What you can do with that, and then I think it makes a difference, because I think a lot of government agencies today, for instance, if you talk about Hyderabad, we have T Hub, we have V Hub. So these are small organizations which are part of the Information and Technology Ministry of Information and Technology, and they are looking for startups, they're looking for such ideas, they help in incubation. So things are out there, but you need to make an effort of it. Be aware and be informed also. Don't spend such a lot of time on social media which has no value for it. See where are the opportunities. See if there are people who are hiring for interns. Sometimes people who are doing their PhD just hire people to help them. Look for those things. Don't just go on clicking selfies and putting out there. One of the platform has been banned recently here, and so don't just make use of social media. Make use of Twitter. I think a lot of information today you get on Twitter. If you scroll down, you'll get which is the latest research paper out, which conference is coming up. People are just openly putting out their slides. Go read it. Try and make an effort to reach out to those people. Comment
With the
something.
disclaimer that you need to follow the right people for that, otherwise
Yes.
you.
Don't follow. Exactly. And I do not follow anybody except data science on my Twitter, and of course few other people. Uh, but I don't want to actually also know what is trending on Twitter and what has happened, because there's such a lot of negativity around, a lot of noise also. You have to make sure what you want to focus on. And again, LinkedIn also, don't just go on following people because they're giving you a lot of knowledge, in the sense that they became this, they became CEO at this age, they became this. Follow people who share something good, and they share it right there in the post. So don't go on. If people are saying right, yes, give your email IDs, and you think those people are going to give you jobs, they will never give you jobs. They're just doing it to increase their followers, which also I don't think what will they achieve. But there are people, who put their entire code, everything there. Just go follow those people. I think you have to make that choice.
There's also this issue that at least I see for the Indian community, which is if you create a project which gets a lot of traction, you get sort of a adrenaline rush or some reward through how many ever likes, comments you get, and then you end up in the trap of sharing not so good projects or not so good advices. How should one not fall into the trap? An undergrad spends a lot of time, let's say, on a project, and they think it's the best project in the world, which they can, but it's not, and they keep ending publicizing that.
Yeah, I think what, because of this. So I think the whole social media has been formed around this human psychology, that we maybe sometimes narcissism also, because it tries to, because when we get likes and we get sort of upwards, we try feeling that we are the best. But again, you need to get the critical advice also. You need to, and what we generally tend to do is, if somebody gives us some negative comment, we generally try to ignore that, and we think this person is doing this because he or she is jealous. uh, we have to realize, before thinking that our work is the best, we need to actually show it to that specific community, because what we do is we generally put it on Facebook and LinkedIn, which has a mix of people.
Yeah.
I think if we're really concerned that about a project, you could mail somebody, you could message them privately and ask them for their genuine, like 2 or 3 people, and put this out and just tell them we are open to, or you could even, if you think that the person will not be able to write it, you could just share a questionnaire with them asking for their guidance. And don't try to just complete a project and just put it out on LinkedIn. First wait properly, do some benchmarking on it, ask to people in other countries maybe for the feedback, and people who are doing some similar work, reach out to them. And then only I think, and then only it makes a sense when you put it out. And I think putting it once on LinkedIn, it's okay, because LinkedIn, as a matter of fact, won't be able to give you that correct feedback, because it has a different mix. Maybe the person who is intended for can never see your post, because LinkedIn has its own algorithms. So I think it's more important. I think there's a very wonderful channel called Kaggle Noobs on Slack. You should create teams there, approach people over there, and there will be similar channels. Ask in your company, ask in your college. That's the best way to weigh your project instead of putting out there for people. And then
Also,
what? Yeah.
it's a human tendency to seek. You would ignore the negative comments and you would seek the positive comments. It's a human tendency.
And sometimes the reverse also happens. There are some very sensitive people who really get affected by the negative comments. And sometimes that also has a very bad effect. Because people are really, really very rude.
Polarized on the
And
internet.
there are some people who will always give negative comments, no matter how good your work is. And there are some people who get really, really affected by such things. So there's no point, letting people judge your work who are not even worth it. So just go to people who are really in this field and who have the knowledge about it.
I follow your advice. I think we had discussed this at some time, but you have your notifications disabled, I think, for social media, and I try to follow the same. Just scrolling through the feed, which hopefully I would have curated correctly by following the right people and not bothering about the likes, comments, or any other thing. Just scrolling it for news or knowledge.
Yeah, because I think you will never be able to create something which pleases everybody. And when you fall in that trap that you have to make a product, write a blog, make a kernel that is going to go down well with everybody, then it's just a trap for you. Then you'll never be happy with your work. Try doing the best you can, and then you could take advice. You could just ask other people who you really think will give you some serious feedback, and then I think it's okay. Then don't worry about others every time.
Another issue specific to Kaggle that I want to discuss is someone invests a lot of time in writing a kernel, anything like that, and you would want it to get to an audience. And if it doesn't, you get frustrated, and many people end up, by you, I don't mean you, I mean someone, they end up spamming people out of it just to get up. What's your advice to them?
I think the people who spam are the ones who are spammed from the day one. Because it takes a lot of courage to write to people to vote for their work. A lot. Even if your work is great, for a person like me, I think it's so hard if I have to tell somebody that could you look at my work, and I have never done that, because I always, it's even harder than writing a kernel to ask even people to upvote for your work. I have never written this statement, like please upvote even in any of my kernel, never, because I cannot gather that thing. It's okay if you write on a kernel, see this is it, and hope you will give an upvote if you like it, and then just leave it to people. The people who spam, I think they do it from their first ever kernel they write, because there's a problem, because they feel that they want to become grandmasters, they want to become fast, and then they think that something is going to change in the world, and it doesn't happen. It's same. So very important thing about Kaggle as a platform is you should also get the respect of your peers, because when you get that respect, and there are people who will share your work without even asking them. I remember I had written a kernel on the pollution level in India.
On
And
the AQI data set, I think.
AQI data set. And then in the morning, I got up and I saw there was this tweet that Martin Heads and
Heads or
Tails.
tails?
Heads or Tails. So he, I think, regularly posts some hidden gems and as kernels, and he puts it out there, tells them that these are the kernels which I think haven't got their due. And my kernel was also there. And then I just said, see, there are good people around. So uh, if you really create good stuff and you're not asking for votes, gradually it won't happen immediately, but gradually what will happen is you will create that stream of followers very loyal to you, who will always like your work and who will also make a point to share your work amongst others, because they feel it as if it's their work. But if you keep spamming, then even if your kernel is good, people are going to say, "Look, it's even if it's good, I am not going to vote for this because this person has this habit." Because normally people think that, okay, you're asking votes in your initial part of your journey, you are very new, you are very naive, and you are young, you're in college. It's okay. But when you keep doing that again and again, that really puts off people, and that might have the negative effect also. People might start downvoting your work also. And that essentially is also not, it's not, you're running in a election that you are asking people to vote for you, that you'll be the president of Kaggle one day. It won't happen. Try create a great journey, memorable one, where people remember your good work and they have good memories about you, and they don't have memories of you asking for votes. So this is very important, I think.
Like you mentioned, it's once you get the recognition through your peers, and I know for a fact inside of the Kaggle community, even if you're an expert, you don't need to be a grandmaster.
Yes.
The peer recognition values a lot, and to an outsider, you might think that the golden
Yeah,
profile looks great, but
even if you're contributor, but you're doing some great meaningful work, you're putting some great question on forum, you're interacting with people, you're helping others, that is even has more value than being a grandmaster. If you're sharing, because see, once you are helping everybody, sometimes you don't even get the time to actually focus on your own work. But that gets you that respect. And someday, if you want to team up with a person for a competition, you'll have a lot of choices. On the contrary, just on your journey, nobody would want to team with you. So that is very important. This should be a nice. Kaggle is sort of a family, so everybody should be respectful towards everybody. You should also be respectful, and you should maintain, and you should go by some guidelines which are not explicitly mentioned, but So writing in your notebook is still okay. I won't, you write your work and then people know if they like it, they'll upvote it. Actually, you don't have to remind them.
yeah.
But then there are people who will write there also. There are people who will write in the forums also. There are people who write on LinkedIn also, on personal messaging also, and Slacks also. So, oh God. And I think we all know there are a lot of them. And that generally spoils the image of a community, of a country, and that's bad.
Yep. If you would rather, and this is just my advice to those people, if you should consider investing that time into writing another kernel.
Yeah, I think you should be. This whole becoming a grandmaster should not take a toll on your head. That what? Okay, you become a grandmaster in 1 month. Then what? What will happen? You'll put it on LinkedIn. You'll have on your Kaggle. But then what? Uh, and I mean, that is not going to. Nobody's going to approach you and say, "Come, let's work on a research project." People know that you have just asked for those votes, and you might be having a strong friend circle who would vote for you. I mean, it's very easy. If you look at that, you can have groups on WhatsApp. You can just share the link of your kernel. People will vote for you. It's okay. But then, what is the value out of it? I don't think there's any value. So I think it's up to people to realize what they want out of Kaggle.
Truly. Now that also brings me to my final question. Are you looking at other tiers to make them golden on your profile? What's next for you on Kaggle?
So maybe not looking at the grandmaster status, maybe, but yeah, definitely competitions, because I really enjoyed the competition that I participated as part of a team. So that one was the WITS Datathon, and I was fortunate enough to actually compete with my fellow H2O females, and we have some strong data science females in H2O, and I think Kim, who is a competitions grandmaster. I mean, it's just phenomenal to even see the level of knowledge that she has. Uh, and yes, definitely, I think, and post my grandmaster, when I became grandmaster, I actually received messages from a lot of females who are actually there active on Kaggle in competitions tier, and how we planned, like, we're going to team up and participate in the next competition. That is the most beautiful memory that I have after becoming a grandmaster. I got messages from so many females who said, uh, they feel really so motivated, and they would also want to get to the next level of their Kaggle journey. And then we decided we'll participate, because I did participate in one competition where I sort of ranked at 13%. Maybe I missed out on a bronze, but that time it was all solo. But now I would definitely want to team up with people and see how do you work in teams. I did team up with Rohan in one of the competition, but that just didn't happen. That was March Madness, and but I think yeah, and like I would now want to participate in competitions, especially the NLP ones. I really enjoy NLP, and yes, I'm just trying to free up my schedule to get to that next phase.
The key takeaway from your answer for me was you're not looking to become an expert master or grandmaster. You're going to do it to learn and explore different fields or just understand the process.
If you only look at that grandmaster thing, then what happens is once you become a grandmaster, and then you don't want to go back to the platform again because you think you've achieved it. It's over, and that should not happen, because Kaggle doesn't stop you from getting gold medals. You get 15, you get 15. There's no end to that. And after, I think I just wrote a kernel yesterday, and I wrote, so after my grandmaster, again written 3 or 4 kernels again. I wrote one for Chai Time Data Science competition also. And having said that, I would tell everybody, if they're listening, if you are just thinking of getting started on Kaggle and you're looking for some good, nice data set, so there's this competition running called CTDS .show, and just participate on it. I mean, it's a great data set, and you could help you start your Kaggle journey if you're still
You're listening to the data set right now.
Yeah, and I have also written a starter notebook which should help you get started. And not just because I've written a notebook, but otherwise I would also say I think there's a lot of learning from such things, and people are putting up some interesting kernels, so do watch out.
Thanks for the shout out. Parul, please keep winning competitions, keep sharing your knowledge so that I can keep bothering you for more interviews. But thank you so much for joining me again on the podcast and for all of these advices.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a fun, unlike other webinars that I do, because I think I keep talking a lot here. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to give it a review, or feel free to shoot me a message. You can find all of the social media links in the description. If you like the show, please subscribe and tune in each week to Chai Time Data Science.